Welcome, and thank you for listening to our webinar on the client engagement process. Client or customer engagement refers to the business interaction between a client and an organization through various mediums of communication. The General Code of Conduct for Authorized Financial Services Providers and Representatives, which we shall refer to as the Code of Conduct, guides financial service providers and representatives on how to render financial services with the necessary skill, care, and diligence, and in the best interest of a client. An extremely important aspect of delivering services to a client is the manner in which a financial services provider or representative engage with a client. An effective client engagement procedure ensures that an organization is able to build a long-term relationship with a client. In the financial industry, financial service providers are required to demonstrate that they deliver the following treating customers fairly outcomes to clients, namely, customers are provided with clear information and kept appropriately informed before, during, and after point of sale. Where advice is given, it is suitable and takes account of customer circumstance. And products perform as firms have led the customer to expect. And service is of an acceptable standard and as they have been led to expect. Therefore, a proper client engagement procedure will ensure that the financial services provider is able to demonstrate that it delivers the treating customer fairly outcomes to clients and comply with the Code of Conduct. If the communication during this process is properly recorded, it will greatly assist a financial services provider to answer any complaint a client may have regarding financial services rendered. In general, the client engagement process will consist of the following steps. Step 1. An introduction as the financial services provider. Step 2. Gather the client information and agree on the services to be rendered. Step 3. Conduct a financial needs analysis and assess the various options available to the client. Step 4. Formulate a proposal and make the recommendations to the client. Step 5. Implement the financial plan. Step 6. Render ongoing financial services to the client. The first step is the introduction as a financial services provider. When a financial services provider or representative makes contact with the client, whether it's personal contact, communications through email or telephone, or any dealing, the financial services provider or representative must act in an honorable and professional manner towards the client, and taking into account the convenience of the client. During the initial contact with the client, the financial services provider must inform the client of the purpose of the call and provide the client with the full details of the financial services provider. The next step in the client engagement process is to obtain and gather further information from the client. The financial service provider will ask for personal information, obtain information of a client's current financial situation, the client's risk profile, and will establish what is the client's experience or knowledge of financial products. At this stage, the financial services provider will also finalize its contractual relationship or mandate with the client. As an accountable institution, a financial services provider will also be required to conduct a customer due diligence process in accordance with the Financial Intelligence Act. During Step 3, the provider will analyze and assess the client's financial situation. Based on the information provided by the client, the financial services provider will conduct a financial needs analysis that will assist the provider to furnish advice. Depending on the information received from the client, the provider will analyze the client's financial situation, assets, liabilities, cash flow, current investments, current risk portfolio. Once the financial services provider has conducted the analysis and assessment of the client's financial needs, it will proceed to finalize its proposal and recommendation to the client. This will entail identifying financial products that will be suitable according to the client's risk profile, financial needs, and taking into account any limitations in law or contractual arrangements. If the financial product which the provider has identified is replacing an existing product, wholly or partially, the provider is required to make additional disclosures. The provider will explain the financial advice and is required to take reasonable steps to ensure that the client understands the advice given and that the client is in a position to make an informed decision regarding the advice and financial products proposed. The fifth step entails the implementation of the recommendations made by the financial services provider. The provider will thus act on instructions from the client to proceed with the implementation of the financial plan. The provider is also required to furnish the client with a written record of advice. The final step is to provide ongoing financial services. The FSP is required to provide clients with a written statement of the following: products, ongoing monetary obligations, main benefits provided by the products, the value of the investment, and the amount which is accessible to the client, ongoing incentives, consideration, commission, fee, or brokerage payable to the provider in respect of such products. The statement has to be provided on a regular basis and at a minimum once a year. In terms of the Financial Intelligence Act, the financial services provider is required to conduct ongoing due diligence in relation to its business relationships with clients.